StoryHinge, episode 91. Drew Barton, Story in Business.
Surround yourself with people that have done it before and are willing to give you an iota of their time and energy to bouncing your ideas off of, and to respect that time and that thought with them. Because quite honestly, if I knew then what I know now, I could have shaved that 13 years into probably a year and a half. I would always suggest writing a handwritten letter to someone. Because everyone gets so much email. So much email that it's so impersonal. But something with the stamp on it that comes in an envelope that has real handwriting, and I'm not talking about like one of those bond letters that's like written by a computer and removes the, you know what I'm talking about? A real letter that's in ink that shows that you cared means so much.
Welcome to StoryHinge. At StoryHinge, we explore foundational ideas and beliefs. We believe everyone has a beautiful story to grow. Now here's your host, Jason Vidaurri.
Welcome all to StoryHinge. It's good to be here with you again today. We know we missed a couple weeks ago, but we're back for now. And today we have an exciting guest. His name is Drew Barton. Now, Drew's a founder and president of Southern Web. It's an award-winning digital agency specializing in web development. And along this discussion, we're going to talk about the integration of story into business and where it plays a role. And not only that, Drew also shares other bits of wisdom that he's learned along his journey. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. All right. So excited today. Welcome, everyone, to StoryHinge. Today we have on Drew Barton. Drew, welcome to StoryHinge.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, Drew, we were just talking a little bit before we started the recording here about where this podcast is going, and my audience probably wonders it sometimes because I'm all over the place, but the idea now is to still talk story and the power of stories, but also move into the business side. And that was my interest in speaking with you. I know you're a founder of a company and have some expertise in websites in that area. So why don't we go back a little bit into your background and hear about how you got into business and to being a founder of a company.
Absolutely, yeah. I graduated college at the height of the first .com bubble. And in the year that I graduated, I was either laid off or fired from 5 different companies in 1 year. And my parents, who had worked for the same company from the day they graduated high school to the day they retired, found that a little disarming, a little uneasy that their son couldn't make it. I decided to switch careers. I went to go get my real estate license. Huh. And on the day that I got my real estate license, I got a call from CNN.com saying, "Would you be interested in being our webmaster?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Well, wait, it's from 11 p.m. to 7 in the morning." Mm. And I said, "Yes." And they're like, "This is a big life decision. We want you to think it over. Give me a call later on today." And I says, "I will call you back later on today, but the answer is going to be yes. I'll just tell you right now, it's a yes." And so I got to work for CNN, and I worked there for about 3.5 years. And during that time, people said, "Oh, you do CNN's website. Would you do mine?" And I said that 30 or 40 times and picked up a pretty solid book of freelance business. And it was good because I had my days free because I was working nights to go meet with clients and build their websites and really get to know what was important with the clients, meet with them about their goals. It was really nice that it sort of gave me really, I consider CNN as my venture capital to start this company.
That's good.
I was working there and moonlighting essentially until I could get Southern Web started up and running.
Now, was that your idea from the beginning, or that just kind of unfolded that way?
No, it wasn't my idea. I wish I had such planning. No, no. Like so many things, you just kind of happen into them. But when you're an entrepreneur, one of the things is you have trouble working for someone else. You always look at something and say, how can I make that better? Why is my why why does my boss allow me to make that better? If I was in charge, I would do this, dot, dot, dot. And so when you really start to see that and look at it, you say, okay, you've got, at least in my case, I had to become an entrepreneur and start my own business. And it's a chronic condition, actually, as entrepreneurism.
Mm.
You look at everything and you have to improve it, from table service at a restaurant to websites. When I look at them, you look at everything and say, how can I make this better?
That's funny. You remind me, I'm a process engineer, so I'm always looking at processes and trying to make it better. So I do the same thing at restaurants too. I'm like, man, the way they do the tables here, they could be much more efficient if they started doing this and that. So I can relate to what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Whether you're getting on the airplane and you're like, is this really the best way to load this airplane with people? Surely it's not. Maybe we should be loaded from the windows into the aisles first. And it seems very classist. And there's some people that are just not travelers. So those people should actually get on either first or last. And I haven't quite, you look at the whole thing. Great. That's great.
Funny. That's funny. So you started doing your own company off of that. Where did that go?
Nowhere really fast. So it took, this is year 13, and the first 8 years were fairly slow. I believe the IRS would have called it a hobby. Would have been a hobby loss for the first 8 years. But I was having fun, and I still am having fun. But I didn't know that it was a profit gig. There's a great line from The Jerk, that Steve Martin movie. Goes, oh, it's a profit gig. I didn't know that about the business, and I was just, as long as my needs were met and I was having fun doing that, building websites, meeting with people, learning about them, building good websites, that was what made me happy, and it still is. But we've now reached the point where we have 12 employees. We support over 650 websites. That grows by about 5 or 6 a week. So it continues to grow, and so does the company. It's just in a different phase of growth than when I first started it.
Okay. So as you look back at that time now, maybe for someone out there who's in an earlier phase of their entrepreneurial journey, what advice would you give them?
Surround yourself with people that are far smarter than you. Surround yourself with people that have done it before and are willing to give you an iota of their time and energy to bouncing your ideas off of, and to respect that time and that thought with them. Because quite honestly, if I knew then what I know now, I could have shaved that 13 years into probably a year and a half, with just different little lessons that could have been picked up. So I would say, surround yourself with other entrepreneurs, other people that have done it around you. And I think that what I've always found is even people that are in the same industry as I am are more than eager to say what's going on. There's enough business. It's not Wall Street. It's not the Wolf of Wall Street. It's not, it's not a zero-sum game. There's enough business out there for everyone. And there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help. You just have to ask for it.
Okay. I was going to ask you practically, how do you go about that? You look for the people you want, just reach out to them? Is there, just people that you happen to meet? Was it an active process? What's the practicality on how you actually go about that?
Well, if you don't come across them in a face-to-face, where they're speaking somewhere or in the place of work, if you're not able to find a mentor in your workplace, I would always suggest writing a handwritten letter to someone. Because everyone gets so much email. I mean, so much email that it's so impersonal. But something with a stamp on it that comes in an envelope that has real handwriting, and I'm not talking about like one of those bond letters that's like written by a computer and removes the, what I'm talking about. A real letter that's in ink that shows that you cared means so much. I tell people that are actually looking for jobs, find the 4 or 5 places, maybe 3 places that you're looking for, and take your resume and put it in a FedEx envelope and send it to the 3 people that you want to go look for. No, everyone doesn't read their emails. Most big companies have a hiring process where you've got to fill out these forms on the website. But if you take your resume, you put it in a FedEx envelope, and you FedEx it to the 3 employers, not the hiring manager, not the HR people, the hiring manager that you want to go work for. That gets in front of them. People open a FedEx envelope. They think it's Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And when they find out that someone wants to work for them, that's Christmas for them. And, I think that is just the cool. And I've talked to every person about it, saying if you got a FedEx from a prospective candidate who wanted to work for you, would you not call that person in for an interview? And every person I talk to says, yeah. If they had the brains and the cunning and the know-how to put that together, it's $15 well spent. It's going to get you in front of the right people that you want to go work for. So in terms of getting the right mentor, same thing with the resume. If you wanted to be mentored by that person, write that person a personal letter as to why you think they'd be a great mentor to you. And I assure you, at least you'll get a phone call, an interview, some time with that person.
Yeah, and that's good. That's good. Being personal is a good aspect. We miss out a lot in our days.
Everything is so impersonal right now, between emails and the sales process that goes on. And I know when I'm getting these form sales emails, and then I get you see it because it's so automatic. And even in my business, which is digital marketing, there's a huge component that's called marketing automation.
No, I felt some of that. I think I've been getting some LinkedIn stuff like that it's trying to be personal, but you're like, you're sending the same thing out to everybody. I can feel it.
At least tell me one thing that you saw in my LinkedIn resume or my LinkedIn profile that intrigued you. At least pick up that I was an Eagle Scout. At least find that on there. Or, oh wow, I used to live in Peoria too. Something like that kind of is that peak of interest. That's what everyone's looking for, that connection. And that's, if you're just sending out, hey, I thought it'd be good that we connected on LinkedIn. I've got about 80 some of those invitations in my LinkedIn. And that's why a lot of people hate it, because it's so impersonal like that.
That's good. That's good. Here on StoryHinge, we like to jump into a story and understand what story is and how it works. And like I said, we want to go, hey, where's story fit into business? How do you use that in business? And I don't know, on your areas and in your life, have you seen where story fits in and creating a company and what you've been through?
Yeah. So I wrote this book called Buyer's Guide to Websites, and I could have written the mechanics of how you build a website in here, from here's how you do wireframes to here's how you build here's how you choose your color palette. But instead, I decided to write down some of the horror stories from some past clients in here. Now I've changed their names to protect the innocent. But in here, I talk about just the different things that have happened with people who have been, for lack of a better word, screwed by their previous web designer or digital agency that they were working with, where they sunk a lot of money into it and didn't get a website out of it, or they got something they weren't happy with, or had just a major disaster. We've all run into someone that had a bad experience building a website, or they didn't ever finish building the website, which is a bad experience.
Yeah.
And so we run across so much of that. So I've taken those stories of misfortune for some, and brought it to life in that book.
Can you share one of those with us? I'd like to hear one of the details on one of these horror stories for someone.
Absolutely. Where's a good one in here? I'm curious. The first one in the book is actually really great. Because this web technology is so new, No one has their innate DNA. You're not taught in kindergarten. Well, maybe they are today, but if you're not taught in kindergarten how to build a website, so it's not in
No,
here,
we weren't. That's for sure.
yeah, it's not there. So it's about a lady that was had developed some skincare products, and she had a very slick sales guy that came in, told her that he could build a website. She cut a check for 100% of the project to him, and the website actually got developed. It wasn't anything she wanted, but it got developed. It was checkbox, got the website, and then couldn't get a hold of the guy.
Oh.
And a lot of the story of her reaching out to him, she had given her domain name over to the guy. She couldn't get into her email to get her domain back. And so she was out all these, really over $10,000. She couldn't get a hold of her guy. Her domain registrar, and I'm not going to name who it was, wouldn't send the password would send the password reset to her email address, but it would bounce because he had turned off the email, left town. And it was all because she didn't put a few protections in place for herself. When someone comes forward like that and shares that story with you, you get angry that someone else in your profession is doing bad. You know, when you have someone doing malpractice in your industry, it gets you angry, and you'll feel bad for her. And then the third part is you want to set some story, some example for the next person, so that they're able to understand it and latch into one part of it and say, okay, I see it's happening to me. I got to pull the brakes out. You know, I shouldn't be handing over 100% of the deposit up front. I should have something. I should know where my domain name is. And I should know how to get a copy of my website in case there's a bad thing in place. So a couple little things that are put in there. Some checklists to ask some questions are in the book. And so that's just one example of some of the stories that are in there. I've got some other ones if we get some more time. Sure.
Yeah. So maybe it's more fundamental question. Why did you choose to do it by stories? Why not just do what you said before? Hey, I'll tell you how to build a website. Here's how to do it. Here's how to do it safely. Why did you choose stories?
Yeah. So if I say to someone that I'm a web developer, then the only thing they heard across the bottom of their chyron, which is the lettering on the bottom of the screen, is geek, right? And you're not hearing anything that I say after that is, oh, you do websites. And if you don't do websites, we have nothing more to talk about. But by doing stories that you can latch into and hear, oh, I know skincare products. I've bought those online. I know someone that got screwed because they paid 100% of the deposit in the beginning. I did that with a kitchen, you know, and I talk about, and sometimes I jump out of the domain of websites in the story. Like there's an example in there of, in our business, we have something called a statement of work. It's an SOW. It says, in exchange for this, I'm going to build a website that's going to have 10 pages and it's going to do all these functions in it. You're going to pay me X. Well, and if anything changes from that point, it has the dreaded change order that goes along with it. And the change order costs money. Well, I was remodeling the bathroom in my house, and the contractor, I said, I really don't want the sink there. Let's move the sink. I want it closer to the window. And he said, yeah, no problem. No problem, sir. He moves the sink over. On the end of it, I was like, this is a great job. Love where you put the sink. It'll be an extra $900. And I said, I didn't agree to $900. He said, well, you asked me to move the sink. I didn't know it was going to cost $900. I would have told you to keep the sink where it was at if it was $900, right? It's an example of statements of work. When you're working with a professional, the professional should say, no, that's extra and it's going to cost extra. Would you like to move forward? Yes, no. And if you're not prompted with that yes, no, do you want to move forward, yes or no, you're assuming it's all included in the ordinary price.
Mm-hmm.
So, but by virtue of giving an example of the kitchen sink, I'm not talking about the JavaScript issue that is involved in an HTML website, and your eyes are already glazing over, right?
Yeah.
But when I talk about I talk about bathroom sink moved over, you understand what I'm saying. But in the same light, when you're building a website and you're asking for something that wasn't originally part of the proposal, that involves a change order.
No, that's a really good example. Basically, you say, hey, people understand stories. In a technical atmosphere like my company does, I can't just jump into the technical stuff because they'll be lost. But if I can tell them a story that they can relate to, hey, this is powerful. They understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful example of the power of stories and communicate with your customer. How about internally within your own company as it began to grow? Were there any stories that played a role in bringing people on or creating that culture that you wanted to create?
Yeah. One of my favorite stories comes from so the Walmart company has a sundown policy that I just love. It's a story of a manager. At the end of the day, whatever issue is raised, the manager would have to reach out to that customer and close out that issue at the end of the day. And it's a great story of this manager going way out of his way to go and assist this customer that was inconvenienced. But he had to do it before the end of the day because that was the culture of the company. The sundown policy was the ethos of that company. I love that. I mean, I love that. I mean, whether at our company, whether we have an answer for the customer, a lot of times we don't have the solution, right? Some things are really complicated. But at the end of the day, I reached out to you and I told you, I haven't forgot about you as a person. And your business is important to me. I don't have the solution for you. I don't have it yet. If I did, I'd be over the moon happy to say I got it. But I'm acknowledging you, the spirit in you, and I'm saying I'm coming back to you. When I come in tomorrow, I'm going to work on it again. Entirely different than what I call radio silence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes us look for other businesses to work with. That's why we switch from one telecom company to the other one, because they didn't see the person in me and they didn't follow up on my issues and they didn't seem to care. And I'm just, say what you will about the Walmart company.
Yeah.
You can say a lot of things about them. That policy is incredibly important, and it means so much to know, okay, you cared. I wasn't just another thing, and I know that I raised something with you as an open issue, and you're taking ownership of it. And that's accountability, and it's really important in an organization.
Well, that's good. And is that something you shared within your organization, that story itself, and said, hey, this is an example of what we want to be?
Oh, absolutely. And folks laugh like, you're doing websites, you're not Walmart, right?
Yeah.
Because but you can definitely lift up that policy, that understanding, that story, and lift it up and move it into web design. You can move it into doggy daycare if you want to. Mm-hmm. It's a really nice story of the customer is important. Yeah. And when someone raises something, they're expecting someone to own it. And I love that story.
That's good. No, I love that. I love the example. Hey, you can use stories. What I'm hearing, I'm envisioning this within a company. We can use stories like that to start disseminating the culture that we want to have. Me as a founder, I'm sharing the story with you so you understand where we're coming from and how we're going to treat our customers. Beautiful.
It's so much more impactful than if I put a successory poster up on the wall that said integrity.
Yeah.
You put one of those, you know what I'm talking about? Those things from the 90s. It had like a bald eagle and it said integrity on it. Great. But if I tell you the story of this, the Walmart manager that has to walk and go and visit the customer down the street because she came in and was looking for something and he didn't have it, a whole lot more impactful on what is expected of you than if I put the word accountability on the wall.
Yeah.
and a checklist. So much more impactful.
Yeah. Or a mission statement. I can see a mission statement. We put the customer first. Oh, okay. That's nice. But it doesn't have the power of that story that you just shared.
Oh yeah, yeah, and sharing story is it takes what is abstract and makes it, you can click into it. You can't click, and that's one of the reasons why when a lot of companies will have these retreats, and they'll take out those index cards and start putting them up on the board, like, who are we as people? Well, it would make sense that we would tell our stories about projects that went really well in the last year and projects that went really wrong that we never want to do again.
Yeah. No, I love that approach.
Those elements out. Yeah.
Because I've been with companies where if something went wrong, it went radio silence, like you talked about before, and suddenly no one's talking about this big project, and it's like, what happened to it? And they didn't want to talk about it. I was like, that's not the right culture. You want to bring that out and say, here's where we went wrong, and here's not where I can do this again because we learned from it. And we're moving forward.
It's actually cleansing. When you do that, it's really cleansing because, and as soon as one person starts to take responsibility, the other team members hear it and say, either I understand and I appreciate that you're taking ownership of it going wrong, or here's my part in it as well. You didn't return that phone call that day, but I didn't return it for a week, which led it to that point where you didn't return it for a day. Or if I'd just been a little bit more clear in the statement of work, and folks will start jumping in and helping that person because they were honest and forthright about it. I just think that's a much better way to go about identifying vision and planning everything out of, these are the things that we did right. What made that great? And here's some of the things we did wrong. Let's never do that again. We gave a 50% discount to that customer in order to get that business. And we didn't make any money on that because that was but we wanted that client's name on our wall to say that we did business with so-and-so. Well, what does that tell everyone in the organization? Is that brand is more important than profit to the company.
Yeah. All courtesy is something. Yeah.
It does. That's the story. And where there's not management or individuals coming forth and telling their story, people create their own narrative between those points. And that's dangerous. That is where there's more danger. Like, oh, I didn't know that the reason we brought on that client is because we would have had to lay off 3 people in the fourth quarter. And so very often folks are just fail to be transparent with the story of why.
No, you brought me another thing too. And sometimes of different companies I've worked with, they had some ideas like, well, we don't want you speculating on what might happen. I'm like, well, then as leadership, just tell us the story of what's going on so we know, so I don't have to speculate.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Just tell me. Just be transparent. And yet this will be the same company that will have one of the success rate posters on the wall about transparency. Absolutely the same thing. We put it on the wall. We've done some word art around transparency, but now it's not part of our ethos because that it's Voldemort, that which we shall not speak of.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So are there any other places that you've seen story work within your company?
Quite honestly, when I go and meet with new clients, that is the best. When I go and meet with the clients, it's the first question I ask them. It's, why am I here? And that is like a faucet for hearing a story. Why'd you ask me here? And it's all I have to ask for the first 15 minutes. And I will get so much information. Like, oh, we had this bad experience with our previous web developer. They're not returning our phone calls, or we're looking to redesign the site because the site doesn't function on mobile. And they'll just, and you really learn a lot more. Like, why am I here? Not how can I help you?
Yeah.
Why am I here? How can I help you elevate you? instead of why am I here? And then they try to bring you up to their level. It's a different, when you say your language has phrasing into how can I help you, is like I'm reaching down to help you, right? But why am I here has a naivety to it.
Yeah. I think what you also create there too, you're like you said, they start telling their story, and then that's so much more. I mean, anytime you share your own story with somebody, and they're there listening to your story and they're understanding you, oh, that relationship, that connection with that person is way more strong. Even if that person came to serve you in the first place, if they accepted and heard your story, now we're on the same page, buddy. Let's move forward together. Yeah.
You're so true. Yeah, that's so true. And it's funny because you'll be in a meeting with someone, they'll speak 95% of the time, and they will have thought they had the best conversation with
you. Because you listen.
He's a great conversationalist. Yeah. It's and I didn't say anything. So, yeah, that's it's always funny. But yeah, folks do want to share their story. They want someone to listen to them. And that's really one of those initial meetings when you're kicking off a project. Why are we here? And why are we building this project? Why are we doing this? Tell me the why. Because I can get behind the why. I can't get behind a dictate from essentially management, government. No one gets being dictated to do something. But tell me why we're doing this. We're doing this project because we have to hit our financial goal for the quarter, so we all get a bonus at the end of the year. I get that why. Okay. We're doing this project for free because it's for a nonprofit and they're good people and they're helping people with cancer. I understand why we're doing it now. Okay. Tell me the why. And why don't we, we don't call on that type of client anymore because we found after doing 6 of those types of websites, we're not good at them. This goes wrong, da, 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 da. And hearing the why of that really helps explain, and then you can do better off of knowing the why.
Well, Drew, we've been hitting a little bit around your business, where you're at today, but why don't you bring us up to speed and help us understand what you do today, the kind of full spectrum of your company?
Well, I started the company in 2005, and in those 13 years since, we now support a little over 650 different websites. We have 12 employees. We have a whole team of copy editors and copywriters that help populate our clients' websites with narrative story into why that website is the SME or subject matter expert for that particular service or product.
So you have actual writers that help them create that narrative? Is that what you're saying? Is that what I heard?
Yeah. So we'll interview our clients. We'll record those. We'll transcribe those. Sometimes even those recordings, those interviews become very good content for websites because people do love to read an interview, oftentimes much more than a website copy because they're following along. It also does really well in the search engines because you're putting a lot of good fodder out there, a lot of good content for the search engine, which is why I do recommend for my folks that do video to put a transcription of their videos underneath in the YouTube description to help it rank better. Right now, we've got those 12 employees. We mainly specialize in WordPress. We've got some digital marketing people. We have some website developers, designers, the content strategists that help with the copy. And we have project managers to make sure that all the clocks run on time.
All right. The name of the company again? I don't know if we've got that.
Oh, it's Southern Web, southernweb.com.
Okay. Is that the best place to connect with you, or in your work is that website, southernweb.com, or is there other places as well?
Yeah. Drew at southernweb.com is my email address, and our website is Southern Web. We also have a company of ours that's a sub-company called WP Site Care, and that does WordPress maintenance and support for a large number of folks. It's a great service that we're able to offer a lot of people.
You mentioned something there I want to go back and dive into a little bit, is this concept around video and the importance of video. As a storyteller and diving into stories, that's been on my mind a lot lately. It's like the power of videos. It can be very powerful in communicating that story. But I want to hear what your thoughts are on the importance of video.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially in today's day and age where attention spans are this short, we have to fascinate everyone's senses. You know, when Apple develops a TV that actually is able to smell like the video, we're off to the races. You know, that's what being able to see, being able to read, being able to follow along. You know, quite honestly, it's the best thing we can do outside of being meeting face to face. You know, face to face, you can feel my energy. My energy kind of comes through, but it's dissipated a little bit by the recording. Quite honestly, when you're able to see someone, you're able to see the emotion in their face. You're able to look that person in the eyes. It's really a handshake. There's a handshake that happens there, and you can't accomplish that with a blog post. It just doesn't. It's just hard to come through.
You know, it reminds me of basically we were talking earlier about being personal with that, personal handwritten letter. It's about the best we can do currently, at least. Maybe with VR and other things coming along may change that, but right now it's about as personal as you can get. Seeing someone's face there, especially if they're just speaking to you, straight out honestly. You're like, oh, I get this person more than reading their words. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I can tell when I'm on the phone with someone and they're doing something else. They're checking emails, they're checking their phone, they're scrolling through Instagram. You can tell that they're not with you. When you're doing a video call like this, if I started to pull up my Instagram right now, you would feel offended, because I'd sent my energy somewhere else. And that's why the video, especially doing it this way, it brings it to a higher level than just recording. Just a sound recording.
No, that's very cool. Yeah, so I just love that. I love the power of video and what we can do with that. And just the technology. I mean, the very fact that we're having a conversation right now, recording video on it, and this will be on YouTube at some point. That's a powerful message and a powerful way to communicate with others.
Absolutely, and it gets shared, and the content is both indexed in Google and really it's really a great medium. And so many people actually search using YouTube instead of Google. It's fascinating, the search traffic of today's generation that actually doesn't want to read how to change the muffler in their car. They want to go to YouTube to watch the video and to see how to do it. The other day and I'm going to put up my phone for a second, but I didn't know how to remove an app from here, but I didn't go to Google to search. I wanted to see a video of someone showing me how to do it.
Yeah.
And that's really when it's like, okay, I actually need to visually see. And if you're from a visual standpoint, and most people are visual learners, video is going to mean so much more to them than either a written copy or even the spoken word to them. They have to have their eyes fascinated, and probably we're not moving around enough to keep them, a visual person totally occupied. Yes.
Who would be an ideal customer for you and your company? And let's say you're like, that's the person that we can really help.
The ideal customer for our company is someone who's wanting to do better than where they are right now. That their website is not just checkbox, meaning got it. Someone that looks at it and goes, I can do better. I want to either generate leads for it, or I want to be known as as the subject matter expert for something. I want it to rank well, or I want it to generate leads, or I want to be proud of it. I want to bubble wrap my car in my domain name. I'm that proud of my website. That's the person that I want to work with, is someone who sees the value in it and is also willing to hand over what I call alpha. Meaning someone is going to say, Drew, You do a lot of these websites. I don't. My profession is that I run a doggy daycare. And I run a great doggy daycare, but I don't build websites great. And so I'm going to hand you my alpha, and I'm going to trust and I'm going to work with you on each one of the big decisions that have to be made as part of this process. And I can't wait to do this, but I trust you and I know you're not going to lead me wrong. That's the customer that I want to work with every day of the week. Yeah.
Well, that's good that you have that understanding. You understand where your company can come in and really help someone. So that's awesome. I guess just in closing up here, Drew, where do you see things going? I guess within your industry and with video and storytelling, do you see anything changing there in the future, or how maybe how websites are evolving? Something for us maybe to kind of ponder on where things might be going.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I see things going in a couple of different ways. One of which is I see that the big media companies, your Facebook, your Googles, are going to take over the web development world. And they're going to put out their own platforms that you'll be building your website on. And they will rank better than the mediums that you would be building using your Squarespace, your Wix, because they already own the medium by which you would rank on. It just makes sense that their websites would rank higher than not. And that's one of the reasons why like net neutrality was a big deal, is because if you weren't on the preferred network, you won't get the top tier speeds. So that's a huge thing. And I can see that same battle of net neutrality coming to the web development space, where, it only takes a few tweaks of the Google My Business product to create a Google My Website product. And then you'd be building your podcast platform on there. And it would rank really well because you're essentially contributing content to their network. So I definitely see that would be one of the things in the future. I think it's really fascinating to me to see the amount of content. I'm going to say crap content. You can cut it out later. That's being generated. So what we're going to see is a division between what is static content and that which is rich, good, almost seal of good approval content that will float above. So you've got all the Twitter content, the 3 tips to clean your house in the fall content, that kind of thing. But where I think you'll also see is these really rich, larger, almost Wikipedia style articles about whatever topic that is important, really great, rich pieces, almost doctoral theses will start to rank. But unless you're willing to contribute that level of content, you'll be part of that static level. So I definitely see that combined with the big guys actually squeezing out so much of the web. A lot of the stuff that we're doing now, and I hate to say that as running a web development company, will get pushed aside and pushed to the bottom of the rankings by virtue of what they'll develop themselves.
That's a little bit grim. A little grim note to end on here. I was like, well, what could kind of an individual or a small business person out there do to help themselves, I guess, move forward in that kind of what you see in the industry? I guess with their websites, with their marketing. It's not like you already said one. Hey, you got to have really good content. Because if you don't have really good content, you're not there. You're not even in the game anymore. Is there anything else they should do?
Specialize. So many people do not specialize for FOMO, fear of missing out. Like, I can't specialize in just labradoodles in terms of my doggy daycare. But yes, you could. And no, I've got to accept all different breeds of dogs in order to be a success. No, you could run a Labradoodle doggy daycare really well and specialize in that. And then everyone who had a Labradoodle would want to be at that Labradoodle because it would be the specialized thing. So from a content perspective, the same thing. Become a specialist in that type of content so that you're so well known for it that not only can you raise your prices, you really are the subject matter expert. You're speaking from your truth at that point. So specialization is so important, whether you're running a CPA firm or a doggy daycare or you're running a web development firm like mine. Specialization can really help, but some people don't do it because they say, well, if someone brings me a golden retriever, I don't want to have to say no.
Yeah. No, that's natural, but I think you're onto something there, because it is. But if you're known, hey, you are the expert, you are the world-class person in this one specific thing, that's a place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And people will seek you out because they typed in Labradoodle doggy daycare in Google, and guess who showed up?
Well, all right, dude, that's awesome. It's something to think about for us, for sure. That's as we move forward to, who knows where we go exactly with all the changing things that are happening out there. But I want to thank you for being here on StoryHinge. It's been a ride, and I think you've given us all things to think about. So thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
All right. Thank you all for being here. Thank you again, Drew, for joining us here on StoryHinge. For those of you that want to connect with him, again, you can find him at southernweb.com, SOUTHERNWEB.com. And that's here to connect with him and also with his company. Few closing thoughts here before we part. Again, it was emphasized to me the importance of story. And we're all in the business of communicating with others, of trying to have our influence out there in the world, no matter where we're at, whether it's in our family or within business. And again, it's just so prevalent to me, the power of story. And I don't think we have to be great storytellers necessarily. I think the better we are, the more influential we might be able to be. But even if we could just cultivate a couple parts of good storytelling, of putting a story together and having a beginning, a middle, and end that has, an introduction with yourself as the character, or maybe you have another story with a different character, and you have some conflict there that the character's trying to overcome, and some resolution. And if you can tie that into the point you're trying to make, it's like a step further than an analogy, but bringing a story with it. I think it's just so powerful to be able to communicate with others. It's fascinating to me how we gravitate towards stories as humans, and that was reemphasized again here with this discussion with Drew. And in closing here, I'll just say a few remarks. I'm going to take a couple extra weeks off here at the end of the year and into January. Plan on coming back in January with starting out season number 3 here at StoryHinge. So looking forward to that. Probably going to change format again a little bit, tweaking it here and there, and always exploring here on StoryHinge. I appreciate each one of you out there and the support and contribution you made here at StoryHinge. I guess along that same lines, if you have any suggestions, ideas, I'm open to hearing what you have to say about that. So you can reach out to me through the website, or really just jason@storyhinge.com is probably the easiest, quickest way through email. And, I just wishing you all a great end of 2018. Looking forward to moving into 2019 with you. So you guys have a great holiday season, wherever you're at. And we will catch you in January.